how I was able to predict 2 different up moves in the last week and a half, and I'm also going to show you my next prediction. Hey everyone, welcome back to Drawbridge Finance. My name is Levi Woods. As always, I'm not a professional investor. I don't work in the finance industry. This is an opinion channel about money. Last week and the week before, I was able to take 2 stocks and I was able to show my patrons how there was a potential up move. And I want to show you guys the information today of what I'm looking at, the data that I'm actually looking at to determine these potential up moves so that you can benefit from this type of research yourself. We're going to look at the actual post. For people that follow my Patreon page, Drawbridge Finance, on October 30th at 9:52 in the morning, I made a post about buying more dividend stock, but not really buying it. And I know that's a bit confusing. Now, as you guys know, I'm an options trader, so I buy and hold dividend stocks, but sometimes I use options to get into a position of buy and hold. And that was what I was doing in this case. So the first thing we do is we look at the stock chart, and I've drawn a line down here at $35. And that line is going to be the entry level for me. That's the price that I want to pay for this stock. So I'll show you how I can make money off that. So here's the post. I want to buy more MIC. Its dividend is a bit unhealthy, but there has been enough insider buying in the past year that I'm happy to buy more. I feel that if the insiders are buying, then the business must be moving in the right direction. The volatility is high because earnings are October 31st. I want to take advantage of the option premium and as a trade-off buy some stock at a really discounted price. If I bought shares today, I could get an extremely good deal at $39.06 and start collecting the 10% dividend right away. By selling the naked puts, I can potentially make 3.95% in just 51 days if the stock stays above my strike price. If the stock goes down below $35, then I will purchase the shares for $35 and have an average cost of $35 minus $45, which is the credit collected, equals $34.55 a share. There's currently an 83% chance that the stock will stay above $35 until December 20th. I also drew a line on the 1-year chart above to show how far it would have to drop before I would be forced to buy the shares. Long-term buy and hold investors can use strategies like this to buy stock at discounted rates and can become a very lucrative strategy to add to dividend investing. And then this is the actual transaction that I made. Now, as a dividend investor, I want to look for dividends that are sustainable. And I know that looking at Macquarie, it's a bit unhealthy. It's not like massively unhealthy, but it is a bit unhealthy. And even though it is, there are lots of insiders over the past year that have been buying stocks. So of course, this gets me thinking, well, I should be buying too. I can look at the prices that the insiders are paying, and I should be able to buy at the same price. I mean, that just makes sense. If we look at the chart, this average price is kind of up here if there was moving averages on this chart. And I expect that this earnings report is going to be pretty good. So what I do is I put in this position and I go quite far out of the money to the $35, which means that even if it dropped down to $36, I would still have my premium collected. Now I could easily just buy stock. And in retrospect, it might have been a better move to actually buy stock at $39. What I expected was an up move. Somewhat of an up move. I didn't really expect this. This was massive. The stock went from $39.06 to $42.95, almost $4 up, an 8.64% gain in a single day. So my options at $35 are still out of the money. They're now $7.95 out of the money. Again, I'm just going to look at the post so you guys can see where I'm going from, because this is before the stock move. So conference call play. Last week, a couple of my patrons were surprised by my post about MIC. In fact, so was I. I sold puts instead of buying stock before earnings based on insider buying. The stock was up 9% after earnings and I couldn't believe it. But all indicators were there that this would be a move up. Today, a similar situation has been set up. I have shown 2 screenshots above. The first is the insider buying for the past couple of years. Notice how all the insider buying in the past 3 years happened in a 2-week period? Let's just look at this chart and see all of the dates. So basically, if we go back in time, 2015, 2016, and then there's this huge gap, massive. All of a sudden in August of 2019, we had 5 different people make purchases. And these aren't small for most people. Like, I'm not making purchases in these companies of $110,000. They're adding to their positions. This guy's adding 10,000 shares to a position that he has 40,000 shares. So he's increased his position from $300,000 to $400,000 essentially. That's a fairly good chunk of change. And this is all public information. So I can just look it up. Now you're wondering how I look up this information. Well, I'm going to show you on my next prediction in a couple of minutes here. But let's just take a look. So August 16th, August 19th, August 23rd, August 26th, August 29th. Basically, all of these purchases happened in a 2-week period. And I wanted to know, well, what had happened? Well, let's take a look at what happened. So I went to the Chemtrade's website and I looked at their financial report section, archived reports, and I noticed that the live results were going to come out Thursday, November 7th. So we're going to see the conference call come out tomorrow. And the previous conference call that came out was on the 14th of August. So just 2 days prior to all of these people buying a whole bunch of stock. So I thought, well, let's take a look at the actual stock price. So what had happened in August 14th, when this announcement came out, we had all of these people buying in this 2-week period. Right here. And what was happening in the stock? This stock was just like skyrocketing up. It was just on a bullet train up after that. So is there a coincidence there? I think not. When I'm in a position that I have knowledge and I put my money where my mouth is, I expect that stock is going to rise. So when I was looking here at the chart and saying, okay, well, we've seen no sales since then. We also haven't seen any purchases, but we haven't seen any sales, which means that those people didn't capitalize. They didn't put in their position here. They didn't buy and then sell when it hit the top before it went back down. They're holding and they're collecting the dividend. So that is the kind of information that I'm looking at. Buying here when the insiders are buying and watching it go up. And now when we see another conference call, what is going to happen? So now taking a look back at the original post, you can see that my trade was different than the previous week. This time I wasn't going to sell the puts. I was just going to buy the stock because I wanted to buy it. I was buying a very small amount. This is not a massive play for me. And I put in the information here. I purchased the shares at $10.55. Now you're wondering like why I think that's a good deal. Well, let's just take a look at what these insiders were buying it at. In August, they were buying it for $10.60, $10.16, $10.37, $9.97, and $9.80. So me getting in at $10.55 means that I'm getting in around the price of some of these insiders, which makes me feel more confident when I'm buying a stock. So that's part of the things that I look for. The following day, it spiked up just over $11 the next day. One of my patrons messaged me. He said he made 7.21% in a single day on that trade. He bought, I don't know if he actually sold. I didn't. I'm just holding those shares. I'm going to collect the massive dividend that this is paying. Everybody's always looking for dividend plays that pay a huge amount. The dividend right now, even at 1096, is 11.5%. That's a massive dividend yield. It could potentially get cut, but it has been paying that for a long time, and there's insiders buying, not selling. So that's why I was able to go into that position with confidence. Now, today's trade, the thing that I'm looking at is in the opposite direction. This is when I'm looking at a stock that I feel is overvalued. And it's on a stock that my assumption has changed. And I'll kind of walk you through the process. So back on September 24th, I was looking at Caterpillar and it was trading at $126. And what I did was I opened an option position like I do oftentimes. It had an upper limit and it had a lower limit and it had some protection built into it. I was selling an iron condor. So my lower limit was $115 and my upper limit was $140. And the stock was trading at $126. There was a high probability chance that it was going to stay within this range and I was going to collect enough premium that it was worth taking on the risk. So I did. I sold the options and I collected some money for that. Now I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, but what started to happen was the stock immediately actually dropped down. So we saw a down move and it got very, very close to testing my lower limit. It got down to $117. So I was staying mechanical and what I did was I brought my upper limit down. Well, immediately the stock started to move back up and breached out of this. And so we've been gaining. And so what I've been doing is I've been rolling out in time. I rolled out my October positions out to November. Then I rolled my calls, the upper limit, out to December. I want the stock to be rated 130. That's where I want it to be. But my feelings are irrelevant. That's not going to make the stock go up or down. What I need to do is look at actual research. I start to look at Caterpillar insider trading, like I'm doing with these other stocks. I like to use Market Beat. It just visually looks good. So I click on that and it shows Caterpillar insider trading. And I scroll down and I look at the chart. So this is the last 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019. And all there has been is selling. in the last 3 years. There hasn't been a lot of buying at all. So insiders, to me, are not very confident in the stock. And look at this, $13 million worth of stock sold in the last quarter. So I start to look a little bit further. Well, who's selling? So November 5th and November 1st, Denise Johnson sells 4,000 shares and 68,000 shares. That's like $11 million worth of shares that she dumped in the past week. And that's a lot of money for one person to be selling. So then I thought, well, when was the last time she sold? Well, she sold, 3 days prior, she sold another $2 million. So in the last week and a half, she sold $13 million worth of shares. I wonder what's going on. That's crazy. Let's see the last time that she sold shares. Well, she sold them in October 2nd of 2018. She sold $5 million worth. Let's just see what Kat did in the last 2 years. And let's find October 2nd of 2018. So here's October 1st. The stock was trading for $153. And then 3 weeks later, October 22nd, the stock was down to $121. So it went from 150 to 120. Is there a coincidence that this woman sold $5 million worth of shares here and then the stock dropped $30? And now when we're seeing this stock cycle through its moving averages and is way up here, she's now sold $13 million worth of stock. I mean, that's a pretty good indicator that she thinks that this stock is overvalued and that it is going to correct back down. I am thinking that this stock is going to go back down. Is it going to go back down $130 to under 130? I'm betting so. 130 is like right here, and it's right where the moving averages are. I think that this is a pretty safe bet that Caterpillar is on the way down and not continuing its drive up, and the insiders are backing me up because they're selling at this supposed high. $13 million is a lot to take out in for a single person in a week. Well, I think that about wraps up today's video. Now, I'm going to be prepping a video on whether or not the markets in general sell off at the end of the year. And so I hope you guys liked today's video. If you did, remember to give me a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, and if you haven't already, check out my Patreon page. I make free posts, I make paid posts. I mean, any of this information that comes in is helping us get rich together, and that's the plan. Let's get rich together. Talk soon. Thanks so much for watching.